Man, so many buttons to hit to go live. Not like YouTube where it just goes live all on its own. Hopefully we're broadcasting to YouTube. I'll pull it up here. And we'll see. I'm going to turn off the volume. So we are live. Hope some people can make it tonight. I know you all were excited about yesterday. Didn't work out. Let me do a sound check. Sound check. Okay, so you can hear me. Well, Gen G brought up an interesting topic because you hear a lot about conspiracy theories. Well, over the course of time, some conspiracy theories have shown to be true. Whereas tinfoil hat wearers were validated. Usually too little, too late, and usually by the time that they come out to be true, nobody cares. I'm filling my vape. Don't tell the hotel staff. So, give me about 3 seconds and we'll get this going. I'm waiting for some people to come in. Everybody asked me to tell them when I was going live so they could come in. I'm live now. Now, the thing I don't like about StreamYard is unlike when I do just straight up YouTube, it's easier for me to share screens, put myself down. I can play the audio through the live. I did StreamYard tonight, so y'all can join me. And let me get the invite link up. Invite. We'll copy that. And I'm going to pin this in the comments. There we go. So if anybody wants to jump in, you are more than welcome to. So, where to start off today? I didn't get much time for show prep. I apologize. Cold day up here in the Catskills. Fucking burr. Well, I did write some notes down, so I had some direction. Apparently, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock last night. My initial impression of it was it had to be staged. They're actors. The Oscars are failing in the views, so they need something to attract attention. They need something to drive an audience. So I can easily see a stunt like that being pulled. They're both actors. I thought they were friends. But as I learned more about the situation, there's a part of me that thinks that might have been authentic. And if it was, well, that was a bitch slap. Not in the normal sense of the word. It was a bitch slap. Chris Rock smiled through the whole thing. Apparently, Chris Rock threw a jab at Will Smith's wife. Now, those two are always the butt of jokes. With what's that? Entanglement. Well, apparently she has a medical condition with her hair, so the G.I. Jane joke didn't go over well, and I can understand that 100%. And seeing the backlash that he got from it, from the people, oh my God, you got to see it on Twitter. Toxic masculinity was trending all day. Insanity. I don't think he planned on that being part of his act, because he is being shunned by the left. He's being eaten by the same people he serves. There's a possibility he might have to turn his Oscar over, which I don't think's right, unless you're going to do Mel Gibson, Roman Polanski, and plenty of other motherfuckers that broke codes of conduct. Well, then I say leave Will Smith alone. So that was the excitement for the Oscars last night. Other than that, I don't care. Nobody cares. When you open the show saying the "Don't Say Gay" bill, gay, 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 we're gonna have a gay night. Right there and then, you're turning off most of the country, and it shows you're illiterate because if you read the bill, the "Don't Say Gay" bill is about grooming children, about letting children be children. It's not about not saying gay. It has nothing to do with adults living their lives the way they want to live. It has no bearing on that. It is simply leave the kids alone to be kids. Don't confuse them by talking to them about sexuality and gender and all this. When your pronouns change from minute to minute, how do you expect a child to keep up with that? Children shouldn't be thinking about sex. They should be thinking about Santa Claus. So that that alone speaks why they're losing. Oh, we don't understand. The movies are dying. Yes, because this woke culture, this perversion of children. You you come out, you lead the show off with that, and then this Ukraine thing. Here's some breaking news from Ukraine. Ukrainian fighters are torturing Russian POWs. Well, I got news for you. That's a war crime. Now you're no longer better than Putin. And if you think that the Russian soldiers deserve that kind of torture, well, let's flip the script. Do you think American soldiers should be subject to that kind of treatment when they're caught? Now, remember how the Russian army works. They're conscripted. They get shot if they don't go fight. Half of them don't want to be there. The other half don't even know why they're there. And they surrendered. They didn't. They obviously allowed themselves to be captured, and they're beating the hell out of them and shooting them. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. Now the fighters in Ukraine are no better than the Russians who invaded. Putin ordered it. You could say Putin's evil. That's fair. Or you could say his actions were evil. That's fair. But beating up people who chose to stop fighting and give themselves to you, that's not exactly fair. Like I said, I don't agree with torturing prisoners of war. Think about it. If it was our soldiers over there, you want our soldiers being tortured like that because war is hell? No, they're war crimes. Now we got war crimes on both sides. If that's legitimate, remember this is an information war, and you can't trust either side. So as we move down the list, let's see. Ton of notes here. Ton of notes. Where do I even begin? Oh, let's go to Biden's gaffes. This motherfucker's going to start World War III because his brain doesn't work. His elevator doesn't reach the top floor. Ukrainian, the 82nd Airborne, they're going to go to Ukraine. So now we're sending troops to Ukraine? No, we're not sending troops to Ukraine. Biden cannot remain, Putin cannot remain in power. Oh, so now you're looking at regime change of a nuclear power? No, no, no. He said he can't be empowered. No, his words were clear. Maybe not to him, but his words were clear. And what was the other one? Oh, the U.S. will use chemical weapons. Fucking insane. So there was an exchange by Peter Ducey and Biden today. This was an actual exchange. It's almost verbatim. That Ducey said, "The big things you say on the world stage keep getting walked back." Now, for a guy who's been in politics for 50 years, for the White House to come out and have to constantly explain the things this guy says, I mean, get rid of him. He's a problem. This idiot has been in office for 50 years, and every time he opens his mouth, the White House has to come out and go, "No, no, 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 no. Don't believe your lying ears. That's not what he said. He didn't say that. He didn't mean that." Okay. So he said, "The big things you say on the world stage keep getting walked back." Biden says, "What's getting walked back?" Ducey continues, "You told troops they're going to Ukraine. You said the U.S. would use chemical weapons, and you basically called for regime change in Russia." Biden's response, "None of those three things occurred." Now, I don't think he's lying there. I don't think he remembers saying any of that shit. I don't think he understands what the fuck he said. I don't think he knows what's going on or where he is. I really don't. America's fucking doomed. And I had a couple of friends of mine, they were voting for Biden. I said, "You understand what kind of a move that is?" I said, "You're technically the enemy of the people. You're voting for these people." And he said, "I'm voting for them for one reason." Now he's got a problem with the police, which, not everybody has a great history with the police. So I tried to see it from his side. Well, guess what Biden's doing now? In his new budget, he's funding the police. Ain't that a shocker? This man takes no responsibility for anything. And get ready for the food shortages because they're coming. The food shortages are coming. You thought bare shelves Biden was already a thing? Because remember, we've been talking about this for the past year, how the supply chain is fucked. The gas prices are driving the inflation beyond what just printing money does. And he wants to blame Putin. I didn't hear, there was one thing lacking from Biden's speech. Where was his talk of peace? He went over there and ended his speech by saying Putin can't remain in power. Where was his call for diplomacy and peace? There was none. I got news for you, because just like Zelensky, Biden needs this war. They need it for distraction. Zelensky was hated by the Ukrainian people until this whole situation with Russia, and now he's revered as some sort of hero. I think the guy is a fucking idiot who's on a suicide mission, sacrificing his people, when the whole war could have been avoided. Could have been avoided. Now, there's a couple of aspects to why Putin, a brutal dictator, invaded Ukraine. One, the NATO talks. Zelensky could have said, "We're not joining NATO." He was worried about missiles, NATO expansion, and increased NATO forces along the border of Russia. Two, this is also geographical. The ports, Crimea. He had a lease with Ukraine to use the ports. That's where he docks his nuclear subs. And they were talking about canceling that contract. Do you think you're going to landlock a nuclear power? He'll just come and eat lunch. He'll come take the fucking port. Now, I don't think many people understand the history and how intermingled Ukraine and Russia is. There's many Ukrainians, especially on the eastern side, that speak Russian and are pro-Russian. They want to be part of Russia. Okay? So he declared those two territories independent states, which was, like Trump said, a smart move. It was. Putin's not an idiot. He's not like our potato in chief. So you're going to talk about landlocking us. We're going to come take the ports. And you're talking about joining NATO. We don't think so. We're going to come slap you around a little bit. Now, there's a third aspect. Let me get to my notes here, because I'm going to gloss over a lot of stuff. But I do have, I do go into some depth when I got a chance to sit down and think about stuff. Let's see. Okay, so we spoke about the territorial aspect of why. Now let's get into a part of this that nobody talks about. This is stuff you're not going to hear. You don't hear about this. The spiritual aspect of Putin's invasion. Okay. Now you got to remember that Russia is Christian and Catholic. Okay. They don't want the perversions that Western culture brings. This LGBTQ bullshit, where, again, you have Americans at the Oscars saying gay, 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 because they have a problem with not being allowed to sexualize children. You think Putin wants that in his country? I don't. He doesn't. He said he doesn't. He says Western culture has become perverse. He doesn't want it anywhere near him. And any kind of influence by these kind of people over his day-to-day operations, especially if they're going to start bullying Putin around with being able to get to his nuclear subs, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. He made it very clear. Now, for those of you who say, well, that can't be a part of it, look what he does to civilians. Well, if you remember, I'm not overly religious, but in religion, there's no call that violence is never acceptable. In fact, if you don't fight evil, you can't be considered good. You can't be a man of good faith if you stand down in the face of evil. And when you see sick, perverted people sexualizing children and you do nothing about it, you can't be a good person. You can't. Now, they also ran into this problem. I think it was Russia, Poland, and Hungary. They weren't accepting Muslim refugees or migrants, the mass migration, unlike Angela Merkel of Germany. I think she even like chastised Poland and them for not taking in Muslim refugees. Well, they ended up with no-go zones, gang rape problems. They were allowing evil into their country. Not saying all Muslims are evil, but I'm saying that that religion needs a reformation. So between the Muslims and the we just want to be accepted gay community, there's a lot of sexualization and rape of children going on, and it's sick. And believe it or not, Putin is not exactly the devil they're making him out to be. And that brings me to another point. If they hate Putin so much, why are they throwing him a bone by killing American oil, our production, our gas, and our energy exports? I hear from a lot of people, oh, gas prices going up globally. That means that it's that Biden doesn't control it. Global demand. They're demanding more gas. They're demanding more fossil fuels and oil. How do you beat demand? You add to the supply. It's a very simple concept. So when you say America is no longer going to be producing oil, Russia then has to pick up that slack. And a lot of Russia's military conflict in Ukraine is being funded directly by them selling oil. I remember a time when they said Trump was attacking NATO because he went over to them and said, "Hey, how about US gas? We'll supply you with gas." And they're like, "Oh, he's attacking NATO." I don't know how they put those dots together. But then Biden comes in and says, "We're not exporting. We're a net importer." And then we started importing oil from Russia. Russia, I think, supplies like 40% of the gas and oil to Europe. So he is basically funding them. And then you have the people on Biden's side, the climate activists, who don't even realize they're being funded by Russia. Russian oligarchs fund organizations that then distribute the money to these green climate activist groups here in America. They fund it. And the whole thing is to stop American oil production. Very simple. Because then Europe is held hostage by Putin. It's a very simple concept. You no longer supply it, we supply it. I don't get it. And I don't think half these idiots, useful idiots, understand that they're actually being supplied, funded by Russian oligarchs to stop the export of American gas and oil. Yeah, it was July 6, 2017. Trump pitches U.S. natural gas to European leaders, suggests Russian gas holds them hostage, and somehow that was Trump attacking NATO. I don't get these people. I really don't. And there's no arguing with these people. It's brainwash. So technically, climate activists are Russian assets. The people who want to drill here are not trying to kill the earth. We're trying to supply the world with energy. and they say, oh, Europe doesn't need gas and oil. They're trying to go to renewables. Okay, how'd that work out for Germany? Hey, Germany, how's that working out for you with your windmills and your solar panels? You're burning more coal than ever. Insanity. I mean, there's things that feel good and things that do good. I don't get it. Now that I spread my notes all over the damn place and I've lost my place, let me go down a few hot points because these would ultimately be posts on Facebook. Biden and Zelensky need this Russian conflict. We cover that. Polls covered distraction. Plus, Biden, don't forget, the Bidens were in business with Russian oligarchs. All of the things they claimed Trump was. Where do you think they got the information from the Steele dossier? Okay. Now, let's get into some conspiracies that turned out to be true. Oh, one quick point on hypocrisy. Along with these climate activists, now all these lefties, I stand with Ukraine, I stand with Ukraine. I thought nationalism was hateful. I thought borders were racist. Not anymore, huh? Okay. When it's convenient for you. When it's convenient for your narrative, you'll sign on, blindly follow the cult. And I call them a cult. It's very easy to distinguish. They call me an anti-vaxxer, which I'm not. I got all the vaccines except for this COVID nonsense. In order to be anti-vax, I wouldn't have any vaccines. Well, I didn't take the vaccine when Trump was in office because it hadn't been out long enough yet. Once these lefties saw that Trump had worked on the vaccine and got it approved, or it became approved under Trump, even Kamala Harris herself, Andrew Cuomo, they were all like, I don't trust the federal government. I wouldn't take the vaccine. They wouldn't take it. Biden comes in. All of a sudden, they want to arrest anyone who won't take it. It's the same vaccine, the same one. And then you see their hashtag, vote blue no matter who. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm on the cult side. Vote blue no matter who. So don't think about it. Just vote for our team. Vote for our cult. It's a cult hive mind mentality, and you can't challenge it because they don't bring arguments to the table. They don't bring points or facts. They bring their feelings. And when you attack their arguments, it's like attacking their feelings. They feel personally attacked, and then they just lash out with emotion because they don't think. They don't think for themselves. They haven't been taught how to think for themselves. Anybody who goes out there and teaches you how to think for yourself gets banned, gets censored. Okay. And we're going to move on now. So, lock him up was trending today. Here we go. Lock him up. Because the judge said that Trump likely committed felonies obstructing Congress over the January 6th mostly peaceful protest, the great insurrection. Well, march over to the Capitol and peacefully make our voices heard is not inciting violence, especially when peaceful is in the context, in the quote, peacefully. Not to mention, he was 1.8 miles away from the Capitol. Within 2 minutes of him ending his speech, there was rioting at the Capitol. They didn't have speakers of Trump's speech being played at the Capitol. So you mean to tell me that the people he was talking to walked 2 miles in 2 minutes? Would they fly there? Did they have catapults? All right, rioters, let's go peacefully. Get in the fucking catapult. And we're just going to catapult you right into the windows of the Capitol and all your riot gear. No, it's not at all what happened. His speech had nothing to do with the rioting that was happening at the Capitol. Even Alex Jones was telling people not to riot. That's why he's not in jail. Now, the most have a felony by obstructing. How do you obstruct? He claimed presidential, what is that? Presidential protection, which everybody gets. Right, it's president. You're allowed to do that. It's another nothing burger. Did you know there's 570 people being held captive in the basement of the Capitol being treated inhumanely? Solitary confinement. Many of them still not even charged with a crime. They blow it up on the headlines. Oh, this guy got charged with sedition. One guy, one person. What about the other 569 people being held without charges? Oh, they're taking plea deals. You don't take plea deals if you're not guilty. When you're facing possibly 20 years in prison. Now, if you had a lot of faith in the justice system, I hope Juicy Smollett done burnt that out of you. It worked out for Kyle Rittenhouse. I'll tell you that. And it worked out for Juicy Smollett. One was guilty, one wasn't. It was favoritism. If Kyle Rittenhouse didn't have all that video evidence, he'd be in prison for the rest of his life right now. Now, I see people keep jumping in and jumping out. Throw some things in the comments. Let's get a discussion going. Hop in, hang out. I'm finally here. We're going on to about a half hour now of me rambling on by myself. You know, I can only entertain myself for so long. To those who think I like to hear myself talk, well, I'm proving you wrong right now. I'm going to go down the rest of a couple of interesting points I wrote down, things I don't think you've heard about yet. And then I'm going to be signing off unless people come in or comments start flowing, because I do have some things to do before work tomorrow, which I could get ahead of the game. Or we could have some fun here. We'll see how it goes. So, on to some, not all, I'm going to save some for when people are actually here. But let's talk about a big conspiracy theory that turned out to be true. One of the latest, this Hunter Biden laptop story. Oh, Russian disinformation. Anybody spreading it's an agent of Russia. Now it comes out that it was true. We knew it was true. The FBI had the laptop for over a year. They did nothing with it. And I think it was the New York Times suppressed the story before the election. There's a lot of juicy details in that one. One of which nobody's talking about, which will get you. It made me laugh. Apparently, according to emails that are coming out of this laptop, Hunter Biden is well intermingled with Russian oligarchs. We all know about the Ukraine corruption, Burisma, and the prosecutor, and that whole deal. If you don't know the ins and outs of that one, leave your questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to let you know what happened there. But essentially, there was a prosecutor who was going after Burisma Holdings on corruption. The president of Burisma Holdings called Biden, said, listen, you got to get this guy off my back. That's when Biden went down there. He admitted, we have the video. He admitted, I told them, you fire this prosecutor, you're not getting the money. Quid pro quo. And he goes, and then they fired him. Now, what they didn't tell you was that prosecutor, that case was open before that prosecutor came in. They were saying, oh, that prosecutor wasn't doing his job. You know what his job was? To ignore that case. That was opened by the prosecutor that was before the one Biden got fired. That prosecutor came in and arrested all of Burisma Holdings' assets. Biden had him fired, and the president of Burisma was able to take off to some country. I would have to look it up. It might have been Russia, with like $9 billion or something. And the case was dropped. It was tossed aside. And so, in return, as a kickback, they gave Hunter Biden a spot on the board, making something like $80,000 a month for a no-show job. It's funny how Biden's family was making money from an energy company in Ukraine, while also making money from the top Russian oligarchs. And now there's a conflict in Ukraine. The people are suffering. He's not talking about peace. You know what? Lockheed Martin and what's the other company? There's a couple of top military. They're war profiteers. They sell the weapons and stuff. Lockheed Martin is one. There's a couple of others. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Well, they're all making money. Biden is making money. Ukraine and Russia are making money. It may not look like it, but they are. Look how many billions of dollars Ukraine has been getting in from America. Well, there's one conspiracy theory. Oh, the Hunter Biden laptop stories, Russian disinformation. You're a conspiracy theorist. Nope, it's all true. It's come out. It's true. And the stuff that's on there is absolutely damning. You know, this is modern day McCarthyism when your opponent, anything your opponent says, oh, they're a Russian asset. Oh, it's Russian disinformation. It's the same thing as McCarthyism. Look what they did to Tulsi Gabbard and Tucker Carlson. It's absolutely insane. It really is. Let's go to another conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theory proved to be true now because there's a battle in court. The whole Russia collusion thing with Trump for the 4 years we heard about. He conspired with Russia, colluded with Russia, and we were like, no, he didn't. You people did. In 2016, this was the one against Hillary. Well, we all knew from the beginning because you check your source material, it's easy to follow. They had gone and gotten the Steele dossier. Hillary's campaign bought information to put together this bullshit dossier to use it as evidence to apply for a FISA warrant. Okay. And James Comey had signed off on it. And when asked about discrepancies, said, oh, he didn't know. So he basically just signed off and didn't read it, which they're supposed to vet the information. Or he was lying and knew and was in on it. Comey has been awfully quiet. You don't hear from James Comey anymore because he's lucky he's not in prison. Well, where did they get the information for the Steele dossier? Russia. Russians. You see how this works? They work with Russia, paint them as the enemy, and then use it against any of their opponents here in America while funding Russia. And I'm not, you think Putin's bad? Here's something else nobody talks about. You're not going to hear anywhere else. Zelensky bombed his own citizens. Zelensky was bombing Ukrainians in Donbass because they were pro-Russians. He was bombing them. They were, I think, petitioning or wanting to succeed or become part of Russia again because there's a lot of Ukrainians that want to be Russian. Or they want, they want that old Soviet style setup. Zelensky bombed the shit out of them. Innocent civilians in Ukraine. He bombed his own fucking people. This was after, I think in 2014, when John McCain went over there to start a coup, to start a civil war in Ukraine. Because Ukraine is the money launderer of the world. China, Ukraine, Romania. You'll never hear Romania. But Romania will launder money for people too. He bombed his own people. He instituted martial law to stop the opposition party for being able to take him out of office. Remember, he's a vulgar comedian who was put in by George Soros. He locks up the opposition, and without this conflict, he wouldn't have any position in the polls. He's now, he's a hero. No, he's a deranged actor who's getting his people killed from a conflict that could have been avoided, but they needed the war. Biden needed the war. Zelensky needed the war. That's why Biden's not talking about peace. Let's talk about another conspiracy theory. Election fraud. Well, that's a fun one. That's a doozy. Well, I'm going to leave this for a later episode. But Arizona, no longer doing mail in ballots. Wisconsin, they came out with the evidence that the machines were hacked, the machines were stripped, the voter information had been erased during the election. And now Georgia is getting an audit. See, they keep saying these what is it? False claims of this, false claims of that. There's no evidence. Well, they're ignoring the evidence. The evidence is coming out. Then they'll say, oh, well, it's too late. Well, you guys fought us bringing out the evidence. Oh, well, the courts threw it out. They threw it out. I forget what it's called. It's called, they threw it out on something. There's a term for it. It means they didn't even look at it. They just threw it out. And they said, well, the election's over. It's a moot point. When it was challenged beforehand, they said, well, nothing has happened yet. What are you challenging? There can't be election fraud yet because nobody's voted. And then after the fact, they said, well, the election's over. There's no point. We're not looking at it. And now that the evidence is coming out, they're going to say, oh, well, it's too late to do anything about it anyway. And that it's coming out. And it's absolutely insane. All the while, American citizens are being deemed domestic terrorists. Our speech is getting censored. They're taking our guns away. And they're stealing your tax dollars and sending them to foreign nations to be put in the pockets of oligarchs, to be put in the pockets of their friends. While our southern border is wide open, you got lefties here fighting for the borders of Ukraine and then yelling about COVID while people just flood into this nation with COVID, with tuberculosis, with parasites, with things we've eradicated from this country. The world's gone upside down, my friends. I think there's going to be a national divorce. We're going to need one because you can't have a mob-ruled democracy in a constitutional republic between one side that runs on emotion, lies, and is willing to kick, bite, scream, and spit to get their way no matter what because they need to feel good. And the other side who gets tape put over their mouth when they try to speak the truth and reality and think for themselves. And well, I'm going to leave this one here. We're going on just about 40 minutes. I saw some people came in and out. I appreciate you. I see I got a couple likes on the board. I appreciate you. Well, I got plenty more of these notes I didn't go through. Plenty more topics of discussion. And I barely grazed the conspiracy theories that have proven to be true. And I got a fun one for you. Gay frogs is one of them. Whoa. Well, leave your thoughts on any of the topics I've came across or mentioned in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. And before I end it, I'm going to give a shout out to some awesome guys from the Holy Black. Let me go to share screen. Share screen. This is a community of awesome dudes who make products, have barbershops. They're into fabrication and all that. And it is a social order. Now, you'll see in the links in the description box on the YouTube, the Discord link to join. You could come on and join. That's the Holy Black Brotherhood. Just a group of awesome people who hang out together in the Discord. They do giveaways. They do all kinds of stuff. And then there is the Order of the Holy Black. I'm not in the Order of the Holy Black right now. I am just in the Brotherhood. They're local from my hometown. And you'll see me when I go in there for my haircut at the barbershop and I get some of their products. If anybody goes and joins the Discord and stuff, let me know. Put your Discord name in the comment section, and maybe I'll send you one of their products as a prize. All right? Until next time, think for yourselves, Stay blessed, stay safe, and most importantly, stay free. Good night, America.